I'd like to take a few moments to demonstrate the significance of the distance between the lamps in our popular lawn lights product. The distance between the lamps in lawn lights is very significant, and I will try to demonstrate the impact of modifying this distance during this presentation. Let's start with a simple example. Let's take a 2,500 square foot area and decorate it with lawn lights. 2,500 square feet lie within a 50 foot by 50 foot square, and this will serve as a good area to use for this demonstration. We'll start by decorating this area with 25 lights, spaced 10 feet apart. In reality, you would want to put these lights out in arc patterns so that the lights would be more random, but for the purposes of this demonstration, we're just going to set these lights out in a grid pattern. Now let's take away the wire so we can see that we get a nice uniform display of lights in the area. The lights are perfectly distributed, roughly 10 feet away from each other everywhere within the area. And for the sake of this example, let's say that this set of lawn lights cost $40. Let's also say, for the sake of this example, that it takes 15 minutes to deploy this decoration, since there are 25 lights that have to be placed and staked. So for $40 and 15 minutes, you have a 2,500 square foot area uniformly covered in lights. Now from time to time, we'll get comments from people like, "I really love your lawn lights, but you ought to add more lights to the string," or "You should consider reducing the amount of wire between each of the lights." Now those sound like great ideas, but I'm going to demonstrate to you why you don't want to do that. Let's go back to our light string here, and let's double the number of lights on the string by inserting a light in between each existing light. Now we've got a string of 50 lights spaced 5 feet apart. Now to most people, myself included, this sounds much more reasonable. And for the sake of this example, let's say that doubling the number of lights only added $10 to the cost, so now the string costs $50. Now that's not too bad, but let's take a look at what this does to the time it takes to put the lawn lights out. The amount of time and effort has now doubled from 15 minutes to 30 minutes because now we have twice as many lights and stakes to put out. Still, that's not too bad. So now let's get rid of the wire and let's see what our display looks like now. Now you'll notice that our lights are no longer uniformly distributed within the area. Instead, it looks like someone has just taken a string of lights and snaked it through the area. There's a distinct line of lights that can be visibly traced. This is because the lights are spaced 5 feet apart on the string, but we have some areas where the lights are spaced 10 feet apart. This is not the display that we were after. So let's fix it. First, let's pick up our string and redistribute it evenly and uniformly in the area. We'll do this by placing the lights 5 feet apart from each other. Things are going along fine until all of a sudden, oops, we run out of lights. As you can see, we're only half done. Now we have to run back to the store and buy a second set in order to complete our display. So we do this, and now we have 100 lights uniformly spaced 5 feet apart in our display. This doubles the cost from $50 to $100 because now we have 2 sets. But that's not the worst of it. Let's look at what it does to our time. Our time goes from 30 minutes to 60 minutes because again, we've doubled the number of lights and the stakes we have to deploy. So what once cost $40 and took 15 minutes now costs $100 and takes an hour. So by simply doubling the number of lights per string from 25 to 50, the cost to decorate the same area went up 150% and the time and effort required to deploy the decoration quadrupled. This goes against the whole spirit of the lawn lights product. Lawn lights were designed for consumers who want an extraordinary display without the time, money, and effort of one. You wouldn't think that changing the distance between the lights would make much of a difference, but as you can see, it makes a huge impact. Now, we recognize the need for a version of lawn lights with shorter distances between the lamps for those consumers who have very small lawns and simply don't need to cover a large area, and we're more than happy to make those smaller sets available. However, we strongly recommend to all lawn lights customers to purchase a set of lawn lights with the greatest distance between the lights as possible for the area that they are decorating. We want to prevent the customer from becoming frustrated because it takes longer to put out and covers less area than they thought, simply because they purchased a model that has a shorter distance between the lamps. We strongly recommend the 10-foot spacing model to all consumers, simply because it's the most versatile. The 10-foot model can be set out in virtually all lawns, big or small. The great thing about the 10-foot model is that if you want the lights closer together, You simply set the lights out as close together as you like. In the 5-foot models, you don't have the option of setting lights out farther than 5 feet apart from one another. However, we are happy to offer many different models of lawn lights to the consumer. I hope that this presentation has helped demonstrate the significance of the distance between the lights in our Lawn Lights product, and I hope it has helped show why it is important to keep this distance high.